Using the powerful tools and data in Rate Genie, you now have complete control of your nightly rates for any date. Now you can get perfect pricing every day while letting Rate Genie do all the work for you. From your Strategies page, you can create, edit, and duplicate rate strategies. You can even search for specific strategies by strategy name and rental name. Moving your mouse over the different active rules for each strategy will reveal details about the rule settings. Next, let's click Add Strategy. You'll notice Genie Strategy and Other Strategy. Genie Strategy is different from the other strategy types in that it is created using a multi-step wizard. Rate Genie will then do all the hard work for you and decide what rates are best for your rental. This strategy contains numerous pricing considerations based on data pulled in from multiple external and internal sources. With Other Strategy, this strategy will allow you to use the 3 other strategy types available. Nightly rates can be based on the historical rate for similar rentals in your geographic region. Changes can be based on the occupancy of your rental or remain constant for all dates. You can then adjust the nightly rate further using the rules. Keep in mind that when you select the Genie strategy, you cannot choose any of the other 3 strategy types until the strategy has been saved. Then you may make the change during an edit. Likewise, when selecting the Other Strategy option, you cannot choose the Genie strategy until after the strategy has been saved. For this video, we'll be demonstrating how to create a Genie strategy. Fill in your base rate, minimum rate, maximum rate, and minimum night stay. Notice when we fill in the base rate, the minimum rate and maximum rate has automatically been filled in. However, this can be further adjusted manually. And finally, your minimum night stay. When you're done, click Create to save the strategy and advance to the next step of the wizard. On the next pop-up, you'll be presented with the Gap Nights rule. Should you wish to skip this rule or any of the other rules, click Skip and move forward in the next step of the wizard. But for this video, we'll be creating all the rules. Notice you have Adjust Fee and Adjust Percent. In regards to Adjust Fee, this is the positive or negative absolute adjustment made to the nightly rates. For Adjust Percent, this is the positive or negative percent adjustment made to the nightly rates. Here, we'll set an adjustment fee. Next, we have Gap Nights Up To. This is the maximum number of nights between the 2 bookings that will be considered a gap in your strategy. In the example below, we'll enter a value of 5. This means that the discount will be applied from the gap sizes of 1 up until 5 nights. For minimum nights, this is the minimum night stay that will be applied to the nightly rates in the gap. In the example below, we will use the length of gap of 2. What this means that if the gap is 4 nights long, the minimum night stay that would be applied to those 4 nights is a value of 2. When you're done, click Next to advance to the next step in the wizard. Next, we have Last Minute Bookings. In the fields below, we have Nights and Adjust Percent. For nights, this is the number of nights starting from the current date that will have the discount applied. Here, we'll set a value of 3. This means that the discount will be applied tonight, tomorrow night, and the next night after that. Adjust Percent, this is the positive or negative percent adjustment made to the nightly rates. For this example, we'll set a negative 10%. For minimum nights, this is the minimum night stay that will be applied to the nightly rates identified as last dates. We'll continue further by adding a new line item. Here we'll set 7 with a minus 5% and a 2 nights minimum. When you're done, click Next to advance to the next step of the wizard. Here we have the Advanced Booking Rule, which is great for guests booking far in advance. Nights refers to the number of nights in the future when the discount would be applied. In this example, we'll add 180 nights. What that means is that the discount will be applied on nights 180, 181, and so forth. Next, the percent adjustment. This is the positive and negative percent adjustment made to the nightly rates. Here, we'll have a negative 5%. And finally, your minimum night stay. The minimum nights is the minimum night stay that will be applied to the nightly rates identified as advanced booking dates. We'll continue further by adding a second line. We'll add 360 nights with a percent adjustment of -10% and a 5-night minimum. Click Next to advance to the next step in the wizard. On the next pop-up, you'll be presented with the channel adjustment rule, which is very useful for users who have different rates on different channels. For channel, this is the rental channel that will have the nightly rates adjusted. You can also set adjustment fee or percentage. For the adjust fee, this is the positive or negative absolute adjustment made to the nightly rates, and adjust percent is the positive and negative percent adjustment made to the nightly rates. For the first example, we'll set the channel to be Agoda with an adjust percent of 25%. We'll add a new line. Our next channel will be Booking.com, and a percent adjust of 10%. And our last channel will be Expedia with a 15% adjustment. And that's it. You have different percent adjustments for different channels. When you're done, click Next to advance to the next step in the wizard. On the next pop-up, you'll be presented with the Special Events rule. With this rule, Rate Genie allows you to set adjustments to your rates during specific categories of events. You can then control how much adjustment is made to your rates and the maximum distance away from your rental to look for events. Distance refers to the maximum distance in kilometers that the event can be from the rental location in order to adjust nightly rates. Impact. This determines how strongly an event will adjust the nightly rates for the event dates. And category. This will determine which kind of events will be allowed to adjust nightly rates. For this example, we'll set a distance of 6 kilometers. And we'll set an impact of moderate. For categories, you can choose one or multiple categories. And it's that simple. When you're done, click Next. And now it's time to select the rentals you wish to manage using this strategy. If you already have rentals assigned to this strategy, they will not appear in the list below. You can always add or remove rentals at any time. Choose your rental or rentals. When you're done, click Complete. Now that the Genie strategy is completed and saved, you have the option of further customizing the strategy by adding some additional rules. From the Strategies overlay, click New. You'll then be presented with the Create Strategy model. Here you can then select a rule from the drop-down list and customize the settings of the rule to perfectly fit into your pricing strategy for your rental. Each strategy rule covers a different booking scenario, and the effect of all rules applied on a given calendar date are cumulative. For this particular strategy, we've already used most of the rules. The rules remaining are the rules that have not been applied to the strategy. First, the additional guest rule. If you have any extra guests on a booking, you can set the price or percent increase you charge for extra guests booking your rental. Settings in this rule are overridden by any value set in the rental rate settings. Date specific is similar to promotional rates in Tokeets. Here you can set a fixed rate or an adjustment to the rate for any set of dates on the calendar. Minimum nights rule. With minimum nights rule, you can set a minimum night stay you want to apply to each day of the week. And finally, month adjustment rule. You can set an absolute or percent adjustment for any month of the year. You'll notice that day specific is not included in the list of rules. The day specific rule cannot be used with the Genie strategy. Should you wish to use this particular rule, then you'll have to use one of the 3 other strategy types. For this example, we'll use additional guest rule. In this rule, you can use the additional fee or additional percent. The additional fee represents the amount that is added to the nightly rate for each extra guest, up to the maximum guest count set on the channel for your listing. This is overridden by any value set in the rental rate settings. Additional percent represents the percent increase made to the nightly rate for each extra guest, up to the maximum guest count set in your channel for this listing as well. This is also overridden by any value set in the rental rate settings. And finally, the guest threshold represents the number of guests that can be booked without being charged the additional guest fee. This is also overridden by values set in the rental rate settings. We'll set additional guest fee of 20 and a threshold of 2. When you're done, click Save. You can see here that your most recent rule has been added to your list of rules. After saving your rate strategy, you might want to assign more rentals to your rate strategy so that Genie knows which calendars to generate rates for. From your Strategies overlay, navigate over to Rentals. On your Rentals overlay, you can then add or remove rentals from your strategy. If a rental is added to the strategy and rates are set in the rental rate settings, then all values set in the rental will override the values in the strategy details. Should there be no rental rate set, then the values set in the strategy details will be used to generate nightly prices in the calendar. To set a strategy as default, toggle the default switch at the top of the overlay. Next, we'll click Add Rentals. Choose your rental, then click Save. Both of your rentals have been successfully added to the strategy. Now that you've added your rentals to the strategy, it's time to start generating rates for your rates calendar. Click the Save button to save the strategy, and this will result in new rates being generated for your rental. After clicking Save, please keep in mind that it takes a few minutes for your rates to be updated and the new rates to be reflected on the calendar. After a few minutes have passed, you can see that your newly generated rates have been reflected on your rates calendar and applied to both of your rentals. As time passes by, you'll want to check the activity logs for your strategies to keep up to date on any changes that have been made to the strategy details, rule setting, or assigned rentals. From your Strategies overlay, navigate over to Activity Logs. The activity logs will show an audit trail of the most recent updates made to your rate strategy. Thank you again for using Genie.